In this VR Builder tutorial, you will learn how to make users pick up an object and place it in a predefined position by using snap zones. We'll cover how to set up the scene in Unity, define the process in the workflow editor, making objects grabbable in VR and placing the object at a specific position in VR. Before developing in Unity, you need to set up the scene using VR Builder. I also have a floor and a simple table. There's also a blue brick with a more complex geometry to illustrate the powerful capabilities of the snap zone. I also added a rigid body and a box collider to the blue brick. The rigid body is kinematic, so it won't react to physics and therefore it won't fall to the ground when I let go of it. After you have set up the Unity scene, it is time to define the individual steps that the user must go through in VR. As a first action, I want the user to pick up an object. In my case, this object is a blue brick. In the second and last step, I want the user to place the object in a predefined position. To create the first step, I must right-click in a workflow editor and select Add Step. To create a transition between the start and the new step, I must click the arrow icon of the start and connect it to the arrow icon of the new step. You can rename the step in the Step Inspector. In my case, I will choose the name Grab Break. However, you can give it also a different name if you want. After grabbing the brick, I want the user to place the brick. Therefore, I need to create another step in the workflow editor by repeating the same steps as just before. In the first step, I want the user in VR to pick up the blue brick. For this, I need the grab object interaction. I can add this interaction by selecting the first step in the workflow editor and then going to the step inspector and looking for the grab object condition. Then I must reference the blue brick so that the interaction applies to this particular game object. Therefore, you can simply drag and drop the brick object from the scene hierarchy to the object field. Alternatively, you can use the object selector next to the object field and choose the brick object. Then I must press the Fix It button to add the necessary components to the referenced object. This allows to interact with the brick in VR. If you want to check the added scripts, you can do so by selecting the object and switching to the Inspector tab. Here we can see that the script for each grabbable property, touchable property, and interactive object have been added to the object. So if you now would run the app, it would already be possible to interact with the blue brick in VR. After grabbing the brick, I want the user to place the blue brick in a predefined position. This requires two things. One is that we need to make the brick snappable. Second, we require a snap zone that specifies the target position. To make the blue brick snappable, it requires a snappable property. The snappable property can be automatically added when we create a snap object interaction. Therefore, on the Inspector tab, go to Transitions and look for the snap object interaction. Then I must reference again the blue brick to apply the interaction to it. Now I must press the Fix It button again to add the necessary components to the referenced object. In this particular case, the snappable property and its dependencies are added, so that I can interact with the blue brick in VR. To make the snap zone for the blue brick, I need to create a ghosting object of the blue brick first. This ghosting object is a new game object with the same geometry as its reference object. In my case, this ghosting object will have the same geometry as a blue brick. The snap zone will be activated as soon as the user in VR enters this particular step. This means that right after grabbing the brick, the snap zone will become visible to guide the user where to place the blue brick. As soon as the correct object enters the snap zone, it will highlight in green. When the object is then released, it snaps to the target position. Creating the snap zone is pretty easy. When I select the blue brick and access the Inspector tab, I can see that the blue brick now has a snappable property. This property has a Create Snap Zone button. By clicking this button, the snap zone for the blue brick is created automatically. Now the only thing what's left is to define the target position of the brick. Therefore, reference the blue brick snap zone object as the snap zone. Now when the brick approaches the target position and the ghosting highlight turns green, the user in VR can release the brick, which will then snap to the predefined position of the snap zone. Let's press play to try out our scene in VR. There's the blue brick. I can grab it and see on the right that the snap zone appears. When I move the brick into the snap zone, it highlights green, showing that this is the correct object. And on release, the brick snaps to the position I defined earlier. This is how easy you can help your users pick up things in VR and place them into the right position.